Hello, I'm Anna Abella, and I'm here with my colleague Amy Vargo, and we'd like to share a little about some results from the study we're doing to understand grantees' perspectives on the implementation of STOP programs across different regions. This study is being funded by the National Institute of Justice, or NIJ, and the major goal is to understand the challenges and facilitators of implementing violence prevention and mental health training programs among STOP program grantees. The study will be used to inform evolving stages of implementation and improve outcomes and sustainability for these efforts. There are two parts to the study. First, a cross-site analysis of grantees who have been awarded funding in the violence prevention and mental health training category in 2018 and 2019. And second, a case study analysis of 6 grantee sites. We will be discussing the results of the cross-site survey that was administered in the fall of 2021, and we would like to thank all of the grantees that took part in this survey. This slide shows a breakdown of responses to the survey. 52 grantees responded overall. A similar proportion of grantees from each region participated in the survey, as shown in the figure on the left. Also, shown in the figure on the right, the proportion of responses from each population category were roughly similar, with the most respondents from Category 3, which is an urban area or large county with less than 500,000 residents, and the fewest respondents were from Category 5, which is the smallest population category.
The survey asked grantees to identify which components of their programs were being implemented. School personnel training or education components were included at 89% of grantee sites. Student education, for example, presentations or evidence-based programming, was included at 81% of sites. A threat assessment or a reporting system was part of the STOP grant at half of the sites, and the development of or implementation of crisis response team coordination with law enforcement was a component at 27% of grantee sites. Other components were reported at 7% of sites, and these included strategic planning processes, enhancing bus surveillance and bus driver education, and holding a youth summit to solicit youth perspectives on school safety and violence. Overall, grantees reported similar perceptions of problems related to mental health. This bar graph is showing responses to one of the questions in the survey about mental health capacity. Responses were based on a 4-point scale, where 1 was not a problem at all, and 4 was a very big problem. Though there was little variation overall, scores indicate that grantees saw the severity of mental health problems as relatively high across the board, with almost all areas being rated a moderate problem or a very big problem. The items reported as most problematic were stress and anxiety, and the items reported as least problematic were anger management and alcohol or drug use.
The survey also included questions about barriers to mental health in schools, and responses indicate that sites are experiencing many barriers with insufficient resources to address mental health issues. As shown in this pie chart, most respondents disagreed that their schools have enough resources to address student mental health needs. These findings really speak to the importance of funding and programs to support violence prevention and mental health promotion in schools. And even though BJA stopped funds helped to address some of these initiatives, the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated this problem and increased the need for mental health support in schools. It's also worth noting that nearly 20% of sites felt they did have enough resources, and therefore there may be some important lessons learned from sites who report having enough resources. Grantees were asked about barriers and facilitators to successful program implementation. Consistent barriers that were reported were the social and emotional impact of the pandemic on students, staff turnover and lack of buy-in from various staff and administrators, the prioritization of academics over social and emotional learning, and racial unrest and the need to address social equality as part of school safety without having clear pathways for this. In terms of facilitators to implementation, training was emphasized most consistently, and grantees shared ways that teachers, school resource officers, and other school personnel were trained to recognize signs of mental illness, suicidality, and self-harm, identify risk behaviors and warning signs of violence, learn trauma-informed practices to create a sense of safety, and understand how to intervene and support youth. Additionally, several sites reported implementing train-the-trainer models and explained that this type of approach is crucial for sustainability so that training can be done routinely by schools and districts rather than contracting with external partners. Grantees shared that a major benefit of the BJA STOP funds was that it alleviated significant funding burdens to schools and districts and allowed them to more fully realize a holistic approach to violence prevention that includes prevention and proactive approaches such as addressing social and emotional issues like inclusion and social supports for students. Several grantees reported that they developed school safety resource centers that included threat reporting, threat assessment consultation, and guidance on best practices in school safety. In one instance, funding was used to provide microgrants to schools to build their capacity for threat assessment, and in other instances, funding was used to purchase equipment and provide overtime funds for training. Several grantees discussed ways that funds contributed to expanded community partnerships and collaboration, such as establishing interagency advisory committees or community alliances to address school safety issues. Other comments reflected the numerous ways sites were partnering with local agencies like domestic violence shelters or mental health advocacy organizations to help implement programs.
Grantees almost unanimously indicated that the COVID-19 pandemic was the most significant challenge to successful implementation, obviously due to school closures and the lack of in-person meetings. While some respondents reported successfully adapting to online platforms of training and program implementation, for many sites, school closures and the shift to online instruction significantly limited their ability to carry out components of the STOP grants. And in some cases, trainings and other supplemental activities were put on hold for 6 months or longer. Grantees also suggested that the pandemic increased stress, anxiety, and depression among teachers and students. Along with the rise in mental health concerns, grantees reported a lack of qualified professionals and supports available to meet the needs caused by the pandemic of the students and staff. On the positive side, some grantees said that the COVID-19 pandemic has emphasized the importance of mental health and student well-being, enhanced innovation among school administrations, led to inter-school collaborations and partnerships, and supported the use of technology and virtual platforms in a way that may be sustainable over time. There were also new opportunities, such as hiring new personnel to coordinate distance learning or provide mental health services, focusing more squarely on mental health components of school safety, prioritizing professional development, establishing hotlines for families in crisis, and having clear goals and plans for ongoing implementation. Regarding current technical assistance needs, some respondents of the survey indicated the need for more hands-on assistance with the Just Grants system, continued consultation specific to their grants, and the need for partnerships with other grantee sites, such as between rural and more heavily populated areas. Thank you very much for your time, and please keep an eye out for the next administration of our survey for this second year, which will begin in August. We hope you'll take part in the survey so we can learn more about the STOP programs and how they continue to be implemented in different areas. Thank you.